Hi, everyone. What am I looking? Hi. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today we have Luke Jacobsma. He is a professional fitting model slash fit model. He's also owner of Mannequin Models, which is an agency specifically for fit models. And he's also a high performance coach for men. And if you're watching this and you're a single woman and you're wondering, yes, Luke is single. He's 38. He lives in Huntington Beach, and he doesn't have any kids. Well, first, welcome to the show.
What an intro. I love it. Thank you.
People want to know.
Thank you. Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And I think we tend to be very work-focused people, but today we're going to talk about dating and relationships, marriage, divorce.
Yeah,
All
the
the
other
f-
part of life.
Yeah, an important part of life. So thank you so much for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we're doing this. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
been a while.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of my listeners, well, they tend to be high performers, but a lot are women, and they do love hearing from men. Thank you for coming on and agreeing to be so open about talking about this, because a lot of people don't. Do you think so?
Yeah, I mean,
It's so vulnerable.
It is a very fine line to being vulnerable, but it is a topic that everyone deals with.
Yeah.
So we might as well just rip the Band-Aid off, talk about it all, and really get real. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm ready for it.
Okay, so can we start talking about your first marriage?
Whew, diving right in. She pre-framed it and then she took the shot. Okay, yeah, let's do it. You want me to just run down the whole
Yeah, okay, well, like when
Cliff
did,
Notes
yeah,
story or
well,
what?
how old were you when you got married?
So I got married in 2012, so I was 29.
Okay, so that's, I consider that pretty young for LA.
Yeah, and we had met in 2006.
Okay.
And from the day we met, we were just kind of connected and never spent any day or night apart. And then I proposed in 2011, got married in 2012. Life happened really quickly. Being married our first year, we started a business together. We were working together, living together, married. We loved it. And fast forward to 2016, it crumbled apart. How do I say this nicely? One of us did not uphold our vows, and it wasn't me.
Okay.
And it was heartbreaking, and it was costly, and it was it kind of it shattered my world a little bit for sure.
Okay. Did you feel like the rug was pulled from under you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm trying to separate the difference between my mindset in the moment and also all the reflections that I've done afterwards. So what I've learned from the situation is different than where I was in this situation. So in the relationship, we literally spent every single day together, working, running our business together. And to me, it didn't feel like we were growing apart. Nothing seemed to change, but within her, something did. And at the end of 2016, she just kind of told me that we weren't communicating in a way that was right for her, and she only wanted to communicate with me if there was a counselor or someone else present, which really caught me by surprise. In that same conversation, she told me that she wanted to separate and take some time apart.
Wow.
And this is coming up on our 5-year anniversary of being married. And so I wanted to accommodate. I was a little taken aback, but, okay, let's figure this out. As soon as she said she wanted a counselor, I said, you know what? I'm part of this relationship too, so I'm going to go seek my own counseling. Mm-hmm. And I found my own counselor and started doing that immediately to see if, what I am contributing to this. Maybe I don't see something that she sees and she doesn't know how to articulate it to me. So I was open to that possibility. We started going to counseling. We did 2 sessions, and then all of a sudden she said, okay, we're good. And she still didn't want to move back in together. She still wanted to remain separated. So it was a really awkward time. We spent the holidays apart, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and just really distant communication between us. So it was really confusing time for me because I was in those 3 months that we ended up being separated. I read 2 books a week on relationships and understanding like the dynamics of marriage and things that could possibly go wrong, and continued counseling once a week. But long story short, she did say, let's get back together. Let's move down to Orange County and start over. I want to work this out with you. So we ended up moving back to our place together and trying to act, back to normal, I guess.
Okay.
And I couldn't sleep one night after the first week, and I was just tossing and turning. And I usually put my head on the pillow and I just go right out. So something was up. I got up to go to the bathroom, and she charged her Apple Watch in the bathroom, and it lit up as I was going to the bathroom. I don't know if this was like on purpose or coincidence or what, but it said, "I love you, good night."
Oh.
And so that like shook me. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like that just came out of left field for me. So I went back to bed, tried to sleep, could not. I woke up at 4 a.m. I grabbed that Apple Watch and I went on my morning run, and I read about 40 days worth of text messages between her and someone else, confirming that they'd gone on dates, confirming that they'd like slept together, confirming that they were going to continue sleeping together even after he got married to his fiance, and all kinds of things like that. So I didn't know what to do. I was froze. My heart is like breaking in real time as I'm reading this, discovering this. She has no idea, and I don't know what to do. So I decided to just observe and talk to her, and I didn't quite like bring it up right away, but I knew that they were going to meet in a couple of days. So I was like, I'm going to follow him and see if this is real. Like, yeah, it's a text message, but I don't know. So I rented an SUV because I couldn't follow her in my car, and I said, this is messed up, but I need to figure out the truth. So I followed her in an SUV for a couple of days, took a couple of days off of work, and ended up seeing them holding hands in public, kissing in public. And that was when like my heart broke, like in like real time. And I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was just a mistake. So I approached her a couple of days later and I said, look, I saw you. I was there. I have photos and video. And what do you have to say? Like, is this like a mistake or what? And so she just shrugged her shoulders and said, and what? Like, and I don't know how to describe it. I was so like in this weird like PI mode, but also like investigating my own relationship, watching it crumble before my very eyes. And then my heart is breaking. And then she's literally just saying, and like what? And so I asked her like point blank, like, do you want to work this out? And she said no. So I said, I'm out.
Okay.
And so I left.
That's I have a similar experience, so I know those feelings. It's like trauma, right? Like you don't know what you're feeling, like you want to be logical about it, but then everything kind of usually unravels like sometimes later, like okay, we broke up, and then the healing process starts, right? And then you really go into it, and it's not fun. I'm so sorry that happened.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, yeah, it was definitely, it destroyed my identity. And then to make it worse, California divorce law does not it just cuts everything down the middle. So it was a very expensive split, which even just made it worse because it didn't have to be that way. But true colors seem to have come out in mediation.
They do. Like money and all that, it is a thing. And I think that's why it's so important to talk about and see people's values when it comes to that. And my husband and I, we got a prenup before we got married, just to talk about, we also wrote our wills. So just to talk about everything, because you kind of see how people show up in that case. And it's kind of a weird conversation to have. Like we learned a lot about each other, and luckily we were on the same page with things, but it is awkward. Like you're mapping out worst case scenarios, right?
Oh yeah.
If one of us dies, if we split, where's this money going? He's like, my niece, okay. It's funny, but it's, you do see people's true colors when there's money involved and when you split and emotions involved. Do you talk anymore?
Nope.
Nope.
I mean, occasional, she'll send me an occasional birthday text. It took me 5 years, but this year I did finally send her a forgiveness text. I said, like I'm kind of ashamed and embarrassed that it took me this long, but like I no longer hold any like resentment or animosity or anger towards you. I don't know if you need to hear this or if it's just me needing to get this off my chest, but like I needed to just get this out there. for a moment, I thought you were my person, you were my forever. And to have that taken away just really shook me. And she responded very nicely. She's like, hey, you know what? I'm really sorry. This like really brought tears to my eyes. Like I thought we were soulmates too. And if we could go back, you know. So it was a good exchange. But that's like the most we've talked other than a happy birthday text.
While you were married, was communication, because it sounded like you thought things were fine and she was going through some stuff, but was like she not communicating that with you during that time?
It didn't feel like our communication had changed. There was a specific instance that she did indicate where she lost a little bit of trust in me. And I'm pretty ambitious in terms of like businesses and starting businesses, buying businesses. And we had just started one in 2012. We were running that together in 2014. I wanted to buy another business in Burbank with a partner, and it was super cheap. It wasn't even like going to hit us hard financially, but I went ahead and did that. And she said that that specific instance is where she lost a little bit of trust in me because I didn't fully get her permission or console her much about all the details.
Okay.
And I can see that. I can see where she's coming from on that.
Okay. Did you say that at the time or like after you learned
She
that
said
later?
it afterwards, after we were split.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
I didn't know that was specifically it. So it wasn't real-time communication of what her feelings were at that moment.
Okay.
So it's stuff that I've learned after the fact.
What else have you learned since then?
I learned that I lost myself in the relationship when we got married. And when the marriage was taken away, or when I left, I didn't know who the hell I was. I really took a lot of pride in being a husband. I really took a lot of pride in being a partner. She was my best friend. And there was a lot of people in our business and in our circle that knew what was going on before me, and no one told me. So I left everything. I cut everyone off. It was like a healing mechanism, I guess. Moved to Orange County by myself and started over. And really just wanted to try and forget it right away. So I really just said, I'm just going to make life fun. That's it. I'm going to do anything that makes me happy. And that's the only thing I'm going to chase right now because my heart is broken. And I realized that my identity was wrapped up in all of it. And when I was out on my own, I didn't know who I was, what I wanted, where I wanted to go. And I kind of had to unlearn a lot of things and relearn myself, which was really, really interesting. Really interesting. So I've always been like a self-development junkie and just like reading books and pushing myself and going for the latest challenge. But the one thing I did learn is that it takes a lot longer than you expect to really get to know who you are, especially when you're with someone 11, 12 years, and then it's just you don't get to bring any of that with you. It's been an interesting ride.
Did you start dating right away after your divorce?
I waited until the divorce was final, and it took about 11 months, and then I went out and tried to live my best life ever on dating.
Yeah,
trying to just distract myself, I guess. I definitely went crazy on the dating apps, and it was a good year, but it was very empty. I'm not gonna lie. It was like, I mean, I enjoyed it at the moment, but I knew that I was just trying to distract myself. I knew that I was trying to just like kind of get over it any way that I could. Yeah. And so I thought dating would be a good way to do that, but it did not leave me any fulfillment or any progress in healing.
And well, I asked that because you had mentioned you were going to have fun and live your best life. And I find that with a lot of my guy friends. I think men more than women tend to do that, where it's easier to always to see from the outside, right? I'm like, are you okay? Or like, are you healed? And they're just like, yeah, I'm gonna go date. I'm like, are you okay? I'm like, okay. and it ends up being like a distraction. And I'm always like, you do you. I think as long as you communicate with who you're dating, like where you're at, like all is fair, you know?
Yeah, I specifically set up my dating profiles to like really like make it clear, like, look, this is kind of where my headspace is at. This is what I'm on this dating app for. If you're going to swipe on me, you pretty much know. And if my first question would be like, did you read my profile?
Yeah.
If we matched or anything like that, just to make sure. Because I don't want to deceive anyone. I don't want to, but I mean, at the same time, it's like loneliness hits hard. And, and when you don't know who you are and you're lonely, it's
Yeah.
like a double whammy. So it's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So you try, I guess.
Did any of those women though? Because I know women sometimes they hope they can change a guy. Did any of those like they're like, yeah, I read it. Like that's okay, but then later on, they're sad
Um,
about it.
I didn't get that impression from anyone. There was one girl that I did kind of form a connection with, and it kind of turned into something more than we both expected. And we were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because we were both like in the same headspace, and we were like, this is we were getting pretty close. And we both kind of didn't want that. We knew we didn't want that, but we kind of liked it. And so we kind of like after 3 months of hanging out, we were like, whoa, we just need to be friends. And so we've maintained a friendship since then. But yeah, that was the only one.
With healing, you said you read a lot of books. Did you do anything else? Did you go to therapy or anything like that?
I did go to therapy for a while, and I went to a Christian therapist that I found in Huntington Beach, and we were talking on our weekly basis. We did about 12 sessions together, and she ultimately told me, she was like, "Look, there's nothing else I can do for you." And I was like, "Okay," and I didn't quite know how to take that, but I just said, "Well, if she can't figure anything out that's wrong with me, then I must look deeper, like myself." So I also encountered a little bit of a health crisis in between this time too. So our divorce happened April 2017. It was kind of like finalized early 2018. And then mid 2018, like my skin started getting really irritated, and I've been using like a cortisone cream, and my body got dependent on it. Long story short, I went into what's called topical steroid withdrawal. So my focus went from healing my heart to having to heal my body, because my body was literally like, it was like eczema head to toe, but like 1,000 times worse. Like it felt like I was living in fire and being sprayed with pepper spray all day long. Couldn't find any comfort or relief. And the average recovery time is like 3.5 years, 4 years once you become dependent on the topical steroid creams.
Wow.
So my focus had to shift. And it literally took it was life consuming to focus on healing my body. And so my heart had to take a little bit of a pause. It's just been recently, like in 2000, when COVID hit, there was a lot of downtime. And that was when I kind of picked up the reins of like, okay, let's get back to healing your heart, and getting you in touch with who you are, what you want, and where you want to go. And can you date again? Can you see yourself getting married again? Like, can you trust somebody again? Like that's a big thing that I'm still trying to answer, the trust factor.
Do you have guy friends that you talk to about this
Nah.
in your men's group, your high performance men's group, or do you guys just talk more business and like fitness?
So I'm in a couple of men's groups, and some are mostly business focused, family relationship, date night kind of focused, but it's rare that we get to dive deep into a specific issue. Well, I know one group I'm in, we do have what we call like the man in the middle, where if you're dealing with something or trying to process something, you get to just like have the floor for like 45 minutes, and then everyone kind of gives you what they heard and what their experience is. But no, about this specifically, I'm pretty open. I'm probably like, I talk a lot, but no, it's not with a lot of guy friends about it.
Okay,
I have a couple that have been around me since I moved to Orange County that know the whole situation, but it's been like talked over a couple months, a couple years.
what about female friends?
Female friends, yes. I had a female roommate that moved in when I moved to Orange County. We became best friends. She's super like open and like big personality, and she always asked me questions like, how are you doing? She could pick up on my energy. So if I was like not feeling like giving off a good vibe, like she'd be like, what's wrong? Like, let's talk. And so that was really, really helpful for me, just having her around, because it like, yeah, she just always tore the Band-Aid off. And if I tried to hide, she'd be like, where are you? And she'd shine the light on. I'd be like, come, like, talk about this. Let's get it out. So yeah, I talk with her a lot.
Well, it's always helpful when someone creates a safe space. And also for me, when I had trouble being vulnerable when I was younger, it's like my friends really had to pry. And then that's when I would start talking about, for me, it was just talking about dating in general. I just think I had shame around it. Like, is there something wrong with me? Or, because I'm good at like other things in my life. And people, I think they tend to assume like, oh, like, of course this person has no trouble with it. But I'm like, I don't want to talk about it unless they really gave a safe space and would call me out on it. Then I would feel a little more comfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to have that, or a good therapist, which I learned sometimes it takes a while to find one that matches well with you. I think sometimes, well, it depends on what you need too, because I think for therapy, it's good to sometimes if you don't know what you're feeling, which I have, like it takes me a while. Like I didn't know that actually bothered me. So that's how you start to heal, right? Is you have to acknowledge, oh my gosh, like I'm hurt, there's pain here.
Yeah.
But then it's also a balance of like coaching too. Like what can I do about it to move forward? I think we need both in order to heal and move forward and start to do things differently
Yeah.
as well.
I see that.
Since you've been dating, have you noticed that you have any patterns with dating?
Patterns with dating. So, yeah, well, I took like in 2018 I dated and then I stopped completely. And then in 2020, what are we in 2022? 2021, I got back on the dating apps. Like my skin started to heal a little bit. I started to feel like, okay, I wasn't like just looking like a monster anymore, which is great. So I put myself out there and I met somebody. And it was kind of crazy because it was only the second person I met. And I knew that I wanted to date with like more a serious intention, trying to find someone long term. And we clicked right off the bat. And we had our first date on, I think, a Friday night. And then we had our second date on Saturday night and our third date on Sunday night and then Monday. And then it was like, wow, we're a thing. Like, we're off the apps. Like, I'm done. So that worked out good. We ended up being together almost a year, which was really like comforting and healing and peaceful for me. But at the same time, it triggered a lot, which caught me by surprise because I was like, okay, well, it's been 3 years almost. Like, I should be good. I don't have any triggers. But like being in a relationship, having the expectations of like, okay, well, when am I supposed to call? Like, when or how much time are we supposed to spend together? Like, it just kind of was getting a little overwhelmed. And I also, like, there was a lot of shame about going through a divorce the first time. Like, if I'm going to be with somebody, I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss any red flags like I did previously. And so that was one of the biggest, like, takeaways from my first marriage was, like, what red flags did I miss and not do due diligence on? Because could I prevented it? Like, what happened to me? And, like, yeah, she did what she did, but, like, at the end of the day, I'm responsible for what happens to me. Even though someone else did it, I can't always blame her, right? I had a huge contributing factor in guiding her to whatever decisions she made. So the biggest takeaway for me was, what's my responsibility and what can I prevent in the future? And so being in that relationship in 2021 just really kind of just like, I was always in like analytical mode. Like, okay, is this the same as my relationship? Is it different? How is it different? Well, how do I control it? Like, and I kind of was like in my head a little bit too much, and it didn't land 100% for me. And so I ended up breaking that off with just under a year of us being together. And I'm not quite sure that was the best decision. I'm still grappling with that, to be honest. I'm like 99% sure, but that 1% I think about every day.
Did you talk to her about this, like the stuff that was going on in your head? Like, it sounds like kind of like anxious thoughts.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, I did bring it up. There were some things that we didn't quite align with. And I did bring it up one point, like 3 months into our relationship, I brought it up and I was like, I just don't know if this is for me. Cause I felt all that anxiety and I was like, it's kind of getting to me. I don't know if this is right. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, let's work it out. And she was very understanding. And I was like, okay, well, that's really cool. Like, she wants to hear my side. Yeah. She wants to give me grace. I was like, this is cool. All right, well, all right, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm resisting. So let's give it a shot. So we went another 3 or 4 months and I felt that anxiety build up again in me. And I was like, but there's still something here. I don't quite know how to articulate, but it's just not
clicking 100%. So I brought it up again, and we're like 7 months into the relationship, and I was like, I just don't think this is for me. And she again was completely understanding, completely like wanted to communicate, heard me, made sure that she understood me. And I was like, wow, this is like really like, dude, this is definitely you. This is a you issue, Luke. And so I was like, maybe you're not just being open. Maybe you're not opening up to this relationship or the possibility that this could be it. Like this could be your number one for the rest of your life. And I was like, so let's dive in deeper. So I dove in even harder, trying to just like ignore the fact that there was something there, but I just tried to push. And so I like invested more in the relationship, into us. And yeah, ultimately it still wasn't clicking 100%. So I don't know if I communicated with complete accuracy everything that I was feeling at the time to her. And so we hit this moment. I was like, look, I'm sorry, but this isn't clicking, and I don't see this as my forever right now. And yeah, she was upset, and I feel bad because she didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. But like, and I feel like I don't want to say like I had no intention of like having those triggers or getting to that point in the relationship, but it happened. And yeah, I still wonder if I made the right decision by leaving or not.
Yeah, I asked about if you've told her, because that's something that I learned when I was dating, because I didn't do it well, when I would start to get anxious or something, the thing you should do is lean in and talk to that person or tell the person, and you're never in control of what the other person's going to do or say, right? Which is the scary part. But I think a lot of times looking back, I'm like, they had no idea. Like, I didn't even give it a chance, basically, by not sharing with them what I was feeling. And if I could have redone it, I would have just told them, like we're about to go out right now and I'm feeling like super anxious. And the right guy would respond to that really well.
Right.
And I did not know how to do that back then. I know how to do that now. Like, my husband hears everything, like probably more than he wants to know, like as soon as I'm feeling it. But I think,
what was the steps you had to take to kind of become comfortable articulating your real-time feelings?
Yeah.
And not like waiting to fully like, okay, was that really what I was feeling? And kind of get out of the analysis part and just go, blah, here's what it is.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, part of it is who you're talking to, and my husband gives such a safe space. Like, he is the least judgmental person, and you just feel it. Like, that's why I chose him, is like, I feel like I could be me.
Yeah.
And not judged for it. He gives like such a safe space, and I'm so thankful for that. Where other people, and it could be personality types too, where they might have accepted it, but it's just like just based on my upbringing, it was just like I was such a sensitive kid, and I always had trouble with that. And so it took a specific person, my husband, to make me feel really comfortable doing that. But even before I met him, I started to communicate, my truth. But I still had that, I think, discomfort with it. Like, it was scary, but I would still push myself to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe it felt scary because intuitively, I feel like I'm pretty intuitive. I can feel whether they would receive it well or not. And so it's just to have, I'm like, you know what, if I want to create the relationship of my dreams, I'm going to have to do this. If I don't, it's going to be either like a superficial relationship, which is not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Or, so I'm like, this is what I'm going to have to do. So I started doing it, and I scared a lot of guys away, which is, it sucks, but I'm like, you know what, they're not for me. And it's super disappointing. That doesn't go away. But I think I had done enough healing where it was disappointing, but it didn't shatter my world anymore, where it used to shatter my world, where I'm like, I'm not good enough, like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm a failure, all these things. I could be really hard on myself. So
Well, talk about vulnerability. I mean, every time you exercise this new way that you want to be, articulating your feelings in real time and saying, this is what it is, and then people are leaving because they're not the right person, but you don't know that at the time. So it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this because it's driving everyone away. And so I can imagine that inner dialogue is probably challenging to just keep sticking to it and just trust the process that ultimately, if you keep doing it, you will put yourself in front of that right person.
Yes. Yeah, and it does get better. And it's a balance, too, of Like there's a difference between communicating and taking responsibility, like this is just what's going on, versus pushing your emotions onto someone else. And I used to push my emotions. It's pressure, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel good. Like I've been on the receiving end of that. Does not feel good, you know? Or if there's any sort of like lack of self-confidence or like desperation, you know, in general, people don't respond as well to that, you know?
Mhm.
So I had to work on self-love, building my self-confidence, and eventually it did get better where I got rejected once and I was like, oh my gosh. Like I sat on my bed and I was disappointed, but I'm like, this is the day I've been waiting for where like my world doesn't come shattering down where I feel like I'm not good enough. It was just like, I'm so proud of myself for putting myself out there. And he was really honest. He was very sweet. He's like, I think we're just friends. Like, I was like, okay. And I'm like, this is what I have to do. And it's kind of empowering that you realize it's up to me. As long as I do this, I can have what I want.
Yeah.
Right. And it just with love, I think this is the tricky part is there's less in your control because there's another person and their emotions. So it comes when it comes, right, in its own timing. But my whole goal was just to work on feeling good. Like no matter what was going on around me, whether I was in a relationship or not, I'm like, just focus on feeling good. Because similar to you, I would get in my head about stuff. And
Yeah. Well, and like I like what you're saying. Like you were waiting for that moment when you got rejected, but it didn't crush you. And that's one thing. Like to me, that like brings up a thought that like lately I've been really just trying to focus on who I am and just being Luke, and not having that dependent on anyone's. It's not reactionary to anyone. So if someone doesn't like me, no big deal.
Yeah.
I like me.
yes.
And if somebody doesn't want to communicate, or if somebody makes me frustrated, big deal. It's like I don't take things personally anymore, and I don't let it change how I react. Like I try to or think about it, look at it for what it is, and then respond. And yes, I still care, and just like you still cared. Like you said, the guy was really sweet, but it just didn't work out. But just learning how to be comfortable with you rather than trying to earn attention, earn love, or get somebody's like attention to listen to you, like by, like you said, dumping your feelings and maybe just pushing them because you want to just poke them and, hey, pay attention to me. And just, I've really learned in the last 5 years to really let that go and not have to qualify myself to anyone. If that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you're speaking to high performers. This is why we're good at a lot of things, and it makes us excel in work and other things. But it stems from feeling like you need to earn things. Like I have to earn love. I'm not good enough. And with with creating like a healthy relationship, you don't have to earn it. Like you can show up as you. And I know that's so annoying when people say like, just be you. But that it is the truth. And you think about like like for me, like who did I shine with? Like when I was single, it's like my good girlfriends. I feel like I could be myself, and their husbands too. I'm like, their husbands love me. Like this is the version of me that I like, where I feel like I could be me. So I kind of use that as kind of a blueprint. Like this is kind of how you should feel, when you're dating and with the right person. So that was kind of helpful for me.
That's a really good awareness piece though. Like just realizing who, like when I'm around these people or this group or this team or whatever, who do I like being the most? Yeah. Because you can, like as a high performer, you can adapt really quickly to whatever the vibe is in the room, but that's not always staying true to who you are. And so learning how to just always have that anchor of who you are with you, you can still take on the activities of that group or the mindset of that group, but you still never deviate from the character traits, the morality, the integrity that you built within yourself, and that self-belief and self-confidence.
And I love that. I do feel like not that many people have that. I don't know if I'm just seeing that through my lens, but like that integrity and staying true to who they are, that you hear the word like authentic a lot, but especially on social media, I'm like, are you authentic? Maybe this is me being judgy. But like in the coaching world too, I've seen people like on stage who are phenomenal on stage, and then we'll see them like living out of integrity, cheating on their spouse. I'm like, why am I going to take your advice? Like you suck. And there's that more than I would like to see. unfortunately. But you always, you find your people. There's a lot of fantastic people in this world too.
Yeah, that's true though. But there are people who are one person on stage and another person off stage, and whether they're running masterminds, and for me, like that was like my marriage. Like I thought I was with one person, but it turned out to be another person, right? And so, one thing that I'm really just doing right now is just trying to trust that the more like truthful I can be to myself, it will put me on a certain vibration that will attract the same people to me that operate on that same kind of level of integrity, same level of truth, same level of self-discipline, self-control, and the desire to grow. And you just kind of have that element of faith in there that you'll be brought to those right people, but you always, like I'm also learning, you have to question, and you can trust, but you got to verify everything.
With dating now, what are you looking for?
Dating now, I'm just looking for a woman to show up. Like, no pun intended. But I've been on a couple of different dating apps. I tried this one called Kindred Spirits. I tried this one called Summer. All these like kind of ads pop up on Instagram and social media, and you're like, okay, cool. It seems like this is the new one. So you try that. I tried Upward, a dating Christian app, and then most recently I jumped on Hinge. Just to tell you a little bit about my experience, one girl asked me for gas money to meet on our first date. Another girl talked to me via messages for 2.5 weeks, and the day we were supposed to have a date, she got jumped and had $6,000 stolen from her. She was stuck in Dubai. She needed $1,930 to get back, and then she would pay me back when she got here. Then another girl, we set up a date and we were going to go, and she texted me and she's like, hey, I just want to let you know I charge for the evening. And so I was like, what is going on? Like, this is not what dating is supposed to be. These all actually came from Upward, the Christian dating app, which is crazy. But ever since I've been on Hinge, it seems like, I don't know, when you asked about patterns earlier, I guess one of my patterns is like, I'm kind of, I guess I call it old fashioned or old school, but it's like, I want to, if we match, like I want to instantly get to the date. I want to instantly, like, how fast can I get to know this person in person? Because it really is challenging for me to like communicate via text messages and really like get the humor and show my humor and show who I am as a person with a paragraph or two. And so I'm like, hey, we matched. Cool. What's your schedule like? And I think my pattern is probably just trying to go straight to like, how can we go for a walk on the beach? How can we have dinner? How can we do something fun and just get face to face? Because that's where it's like we're going to figure out like, okay, the energy's there, the attraction's there. I've noticed that photos can be misleading. I've also noticed that profiles can be misleading. And so it's just, I want to get to the real thing. And I don't mind going on dates and meeting people, but it seems like it's not reciprocated, and it seems like there's almost like a little bit of an uncomfortability that I get from women from going straight to meeting. Some are like, yeah, let's do it, but it's the minority.
What's the age range that you put on the dating app?
I'm going 25 to 40.
25 to 40.
Yeah.
Do you find that the younger ones are the ones that like to text more and don't like a phone call?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, it's almost considered like rude, like if you want to call them. I have some female friends. Actually, they're older. Everyone's just different. Okay, that's the hard part here too. Is like, I had a friend who she's talking to some guy on an app, and then she gave her number, and then he FaceTimed her, and she wouldn't pick it up, and she was so like mad. She's like, I don't have makeup on. That's so rude. He didn't give me a heads up. I'm like, he wants to talk to you, and he's willing to show you who he is. I'm like, I think that's a good sign. I'm like, you could say like, hey, I'll call you right back. But she just didn't even want anything to do with it. I'm like, I don't know if you're ready to date. Yeah, I think everyone's just different. I have heard that people like to text to death on the apps.
Yeah.
Which I think if you are a person who likes to get things done, you just kind of want to get to the point. Which I remember when I was dating, I found that really refreshing when a guy would just like want to call and like, because I don't like my time wasted either, right? I'm not here just to like text a bunch of people, right? Like the goal is to go on dates. And then with the I'm sorry, you were saying with the chasing. We were talking earlier about women
Yeah.
who, because I had a previous guest on my show, Twash, she's married, and there's this thing with females, like the masculine, feminine, about like women shouldn't chase, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think people hear that differently, and I wanted to hear your take as a man when you hear, a woman say like, you should not chase. You never need to chase. Like a guy will make it known and very clear if he's interested in you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I heard that episode when I was probably getting ghosted by someone who wasn't responding on Hinge. So I was kind of like elevated emotions. But yeah, the chase thing is interesting to me because what it feels like on the dating apps is that if it feels like so many women are putting themselves up in this tower like Rapunzel, and they've got this moat with alligators around them, and then they've got a fence of barbed wire around them, and then they're just like waving their fingers out the door or out the window, but they don't want to show everything, and then it seems like they expect me to jump the barbed wire, fight the alligators, climb up this tower, and they don't even want to throw down their hair and show anything to give anything to fight for. And so it's like, I get the feeling of not chasing and kind of having like some self-respect and not like just doing whatever. But I think it's a fine line of like showing, like, how do you show interest in a man, but not chase? Right. And I've seen it done well. Like I can't articulate how, but like it.
Can you try to articulate how?
Yeah, so like there's this one conversation I had with the girl, and like we were texting, and then she immediately just volunteered some information. She goes, "Hey, you know what? I really liked how you said this on your profile, and I really liked how you called me right away." And to me, that's not chasing, but it showed me interest. And there's definitely been other conversations where it's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Or and they'll reach out, and I guess that's considered chasing.
I mean,
it's like how do you articulate what's chasing and why does it, yeah.
Okay, so in the episode, I think the way we saw it is, it's pretty clear when someone is interested in you. It's when, because I've done this before too, when a guy clearly was not that interested in me, and then I would keep chasing the emotionally unavailable ones. Clearly, and I'm like, if I'm trying to create a long-term healthy relationship, that is not a person you should be pursuing or chasing, So that's how I understand chasing. But I do agree that women need to, in general, have more empathy for men and also communicate better in so it's not like one way. I do think a lot of women, they expect the guy to do everything. It's one thing to start the conversation, but it's like playing tennis. You have to hit back too. It's not just like yes, no answers. Like you need to engage back. And I think that I don't know if it's a skill, but to me, it's pretty simple to show someone that you like them, unless maybe the woman has trouble being vulnerable as well. Maybe she's been hurt a lot and has walls up. That's not uncommon.
So let me
these days.
This has happened multiple times in the last month where I like someone on Hinge and then we match. And I make it a point to immediately respond, right? If I got the notification on, so if I get it, I go, wow, hey, and I say something unique or something specific about her. And then a couple of days will go by without anything. And they literally just matched and I respond within 3 minutes. And then days go by. So I go, so then I'm trying to protect my time too. I'm not trying to chase or bend over backwards and go too far. But I'm like, so what I do now is I just go, hey, look, it doesn't seem like you're as interested in meeting someone seriously like I am. But if you do want to continue this conversation, please let me know. But otherwise, good luck. Yeah. They start responding right away. And it's like, well, where were you the last 3 days? And I've even done that same, hey, it doesn't look like you're serious about meeting someone. I am. So let's part our ways and best of luck. So many girls are moving. Oh, I'm sorry, I was moving. And that's the only response they say. They don't go, how about we get together next week?
Yes.
How about we talk on the phone? How about here's my phone number.
Yes.
that, like, to me, that's not chasing.
No,
To
no,
me, that's
that's
just
chasing.
common sense if you're
Contributing
interested.
to it, yes, a
Well, like,
relationship.
maybe I'm just like a man and I'm too simple, but like, if we match, doesn't that mean you looked at my profile? Doesn't that mean you saw like some of the prompts I put up there? Doesn't that mean you kind of already decided that you're interested?
It's so interesting hearing this from a man because I normally hear the complaints from women more of matching and it like not going anywhere. And maybe because I'm talking to women more, but it just seems that because the apps are so convenient, people are not as mindful about it. It's like, you know, so I've been hearing that more.
And
That people are
that's
not as
frustrating
mindful.
part about apps is like, but yeah, like I follow up with every match. I'm intentional with who I match with, who I like. There's a specific reason why I said, yeah, I like this photo, or I like this prompt, I like this about you. And so I guess my assumption is that if you match with me, you've kind of done a little bit of like, you at least looked at my 6 photos and my 3 prompts and my height and where I live and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But it's just, it boggles my mind how many don't respond after matching. And then all of a sudden when I'm like, yeah, all right, peace out, good luck, then they all start responding. And it's weird how it reels them back in, which is confusing. But then again, it like the conversation piece, it's like they'll come back and tell me what they've been doing, why they couldn't respond, but they don't
Yeah.
further the conversation. And it's
see.
like, okay, great. I'm glad you were moving. Wow. Okay. Life is busy. I get it. Okay. Life is overwhelming. Okay. But it isn't that way for all of us. Like I'm still trying to, okay, well, when can we, and I try and give another opportunity, but it's just, it's weird. It's very frustrating.
I can see that. And yeah, that does sound right. Like just say if they need to reschedule or something, maybe just throwing out like how's next week or something. You know, I actually had another single guy, my friend Rob came on and was saying that a lot of times, you know, a lot of females would cancel, but they wouldn't say anything about like rescheduling. Like he feels like he just has to do everything. And he's like, to a certain point, like, yes, it's in men's nature to pursue, but at a certain point it comes off as disinterested that I don't want to pursue you anymore.
Yeah. 2 girls have canceled. We set up dates. 2 girls have canceled the morning of because they felt ill.
Okay.
Totally understandable. But neither one of them followed up with a like, well, I'd still love to see you, or I'd still, you know, maybe later this week when I feel better. Yeah. And 2 girls said they were moving, and 2 girls have said life is just overwhelming right now, and so they need 2 weeks before we can actually meet. And it's like, why are you on a dating app then?
Yeah.
Like, and so it's like, I don't know. There's
Well, because you're efficient and you're to the point, and not everyone
Maybe
is.
that's a
So it sounds
problem.
like what you're looking for is someone who is maybe similar in those ways. They respect their own time, they respect your time, more direct. What about meeting people in person?
I would love that, but like, I guess I don't put myself in too many new situations where I can meet someone. You know, so it's like I'm going to work, I'm working with clients, I'm traveling here, and it's like typically like a routine play, and so it's like I don't get myself in the situations where I could actually meet somebody. But I'm trying to figure out creative ways to date because I love to date. I love meeting new people, and I get excited about what could transpire. And, you know, what I might learn about somebody and what somebody might reveal in me. And like, you know, just like the possibility of chemistry just happening is exciting to me. And so I do love the romantic idea of finding somebody in person and not doing it on the app. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. That's how I felt about it when I was dating. I was on the apps, but I was open to. I'm like, you know what? If he's here, he's here. I don't give a fuck like how I meet him. In the end, I just want to stay open. But I ended up meeting my husband organically.
Really?
Which is what I wanted. Yeah, I was waiting for an Uber in Venice Beach, and it was as organic as it could have been.
Yeah.
So like, yes, I got that story that I
It's a thing. It's a thing. Nobody wants an app store. How did you guys meet? On an app.
on an app. Yeah, but a lot of people do because I used to photograph weddings. I'd say over 50% of the couples met on the apps.
Yeah.
So I think it's, you know, if you go into it with a positive, you know, headspace, because they could get overwhelming too. I usually tell people if it starts to feel like frustrating, you don't want to be on it, I'm like, take a break because it's, don't go down that.
Yeah. Yeah, the apps. It's a very interesting way. I don't think it's the healthiest way to start a relationship off a firm, like solid foundation. At least like Hinge, I've been told, like maybe Match or eHarmony, where it's like you have to answer a
Takes
lot more
time.
questions and you're a
Yeah.
little more invested. It's a little like, I don't know what the price is, but if you're investing a little more, like you know that person's as serious
Serious.
as you
Yeah.
are. Whereas like a Hinge, it's like, okay, you can start it with an email and a phone number and you're good to go. Like, how much do you truly care about meeting somebody? And I've been asking myself that question too. It's like, well, maybe I'm not fishing in the right pond. You know, maybe I'm looking at people who aren't really serious about meeting, and maybe I need to analyze that myself and go to places where people are genuinely interested and not there to waste time based off how much information they have to give, how much money they have to pay for the app or the dating service or whatever it is. So it's a question I've been asking myself.
Do you work out, like go to the gym or any classes?
I run every day. I do 2.5 miles every day. Currently on a streak of like 252 days. No, 552 days. Sorry. And I work out 3 days a week, weightlifting stuff in my garage.
Oh, alone.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because I was going to suggest like logic, right? You just put yourself around more people, either gym or like yoga class. I tell my guy friends, like if you're open to yoga, the women in there are beautiful. They take care of themselves. Like that to me makes sense. And if you're a female, like you'd go do things like play beach volleyball or something if you're like into that. You know, there's tons of guys that play beach volleyball.
I definitely I see where you're coming from, and I agree with that. And like I love going to yoga classes and other gyms, and that's usually when you do meet the most people. But is it not weird for like for me to go to a yoga studio with the intention that I might meet a female there, even though I like yoga, right?
I think
like yoga and I
that's
like doing
enough.
it, but
That's enough of a reason.
I don't know. Like I don't know if I could ever approach a female at a gym like that, because like I'm going there to work out.
Yeah.
I'm assuming she's going there to work out. And yeah, it's like, okay, everyone's, hey, what are you doing afterwards? Let's all go get a drink. Like I know community happens in gyms like that, and fitness facilities, but it's like, I don't know. There's a huge story for me where I would never approach somebody in a setting like that.
No, I get what you're saying, because it can come off like creepy or your intentions are right. But I think if you like to exercise, right? So you're there to work out. But I think just meeting people, not necessarily to date, but just like you go to meet people, because like the times that I've built community and really connected with people, not necessarily romantically, it's been like yoga class, dance class, and I love it.
Yeah.
And I just think meeting people, just like even if you don't go in with the intention of like, I'm going to ask people out, but you're just meeting people and maybe it's like their friend or something like that. It's just staying open. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to go to yoga class and, you know, meet some cool people. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I can see that.
But there is a line where it could be creepy. Like, oh, he only comes here to look for women. Like, and I don't get the sense that that's really you. Like, you're not that creepy guy.
No, I definitely, but it's I don't know. It's approaching women in general. There's a huge resistance in me just to do that in person anyways.
Oh, I was going to ask, how do you normally approach a woman in person if you see?
I don't.
You should.
Maybe it's just me, but it doesn't seem like it's welcome.
Oh, okay. I actually just did a video on this of like how to be more approachable and also how to give men green lights to approach you. Because that makes such a difference.
All the difference in the world.
It does. I'll send you the link, but it does make a difference. And I totally get it, because I think women can be too hard on men. But I'm like, well, imagine society puts the pressure on you to go up to someone. And so you experience rejection, because not every person's gonna say yes or, or like you, right? I'm like, that can take a toll. That could be really scary. I wouldn't want to do that, And so I empathize with having that pressure of going up to someone. So I think if someone, I imagine, made it a little easier for me, like smiled at me and, held that smile or just like said hi, and that's what I.
But women don't chase.
But
Isn't that
chasing?
Is not
chase. No, a hi is not a chase. That's
okay.
To me. Okay. Well, everyone's different, right? To me, that's just a signal like hi, and I swear to God that goes a long way. I've had it done to me with men as well, where they're just like hi. And we like, like a relationship, a conversation, and then a relationship blossomed from that. But it was just the acknowledgement of like, hi. And it's so simple, but I swear to God that it works. But I usually tell women like a smile helps a lot. And your body language too, like being warm.
Yeah.
Because that's a huge thing that I think a lot of people aren't aware of. It's the littlest things, like your shoulders. Like you could tell when someone's like closed off and they don't want to be spoken to. Where I'm sure you've met women who they just have this like light about them, and you could just tell that whether you go on a date with them or not, that they're just warm and that
Right.
they would receive it well if you wanted to have a conversation.
Yeah. If I get if you give me a green light, there's no problem there because I know that it's welcomed. But if I don't get that, then it probably won't happen. I probably won't approach.
Do women ever approach you? They have to. Like, you're super handsome. There's no way. If you are open and you put yourself in enough situations where you could be approached.
I can't say yes on that one.
Really?
Yeah.
You're probably just not around enough people. You're like running. Like, no one's gonna stop you.
Yeah, my schedule is pretty routine, and I do go out with my friends sometimes, but it's like when I'm out, I'm with my friends. Like, if maybe I'm oblivious, could possibly be. Maybe I'm oblivious, but like I think it's very attractive when a woman initiates. I think it's so attractive for me. As the type of personality that I am, because again, that like what you just said, it gives me a green flag, and so as long as I get that green flag on the get go, either whether she's like, "Hey, you're cute, let's talk," or "Hey," if she just gives me the hi, or if she's a little more aggressive with it, I mean, I welcome that at all times. But yeah, I can't recall a time.
Is there such thing as like
Recently.
too aggressive? Can a woman be too aggressive?
Too aggressive.
Yeah. What if she's like, like, do you want to go out on a date? Like, do you want to be the one that asks her out on a date specifically?
No, I don't have to.
Okay.
I definitely
You're okay
don't.
with that.
But I
Okay.
mean, too aggressive. So like we talked about ping pong a little bit with communication.
Yeah.
So if she's aiming at me and trying to hit me with a ping pong and knock me over, maybe that's a little bit aggressive. But she's hitting hard and she's teeing me up so I can give it
Okay.
right back, and like we can start to entertain like flirting and like getting to know each other. Like bring all the intensity you got, but if you're just coming in hot and you're not reading any of my social cues, you're not reading my body language, and you're just like, whoa, like smothering me right off the bat, yes, it could probably be too aggressive.
Okay. Got
But
it.
if you know how to place that intention right back, so I can just boom, and then we start, going right
Yeah.
into it, I'm all about that.
Okay. That's a good explanation.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because the intensity, I actually used to make that mistake. Like one of my friends told me, my friend Jake, when I was dating, he's like, I think you come off as too intense. Not that I was actually asking the guys out, but it's just the way I would show up was really intense. And he was right. I'm like, you're right. So I had to be aware of that and kind of relax.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm most attracted to women who are very self-aware and they do read cues. Like that it almost makes me more attracted to them. So if they come up and they notice that like I'm kind of leaning back and then they continue to lean in. Like I'm like, "Oh, she's aware." Like those little subtle subconscious things go off in my mind versus, if she comes up and she's like not making eye contact and she's like looking everywhere else but me and she's just trying to like nudge me on the arm and be like, I get she's trying to make give me a green flag, but I don't know. There's a lot of things that I look at when I'm being approached, if I've ever been approached.
That seems like emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
But also, it just comes off as intelligent in general. I can tell you're a very smart guy. So I think you want someone who's very intelligent and sensitive. I think it's the awareness, right? That they can read people.
Yeah. I mean, I went on a date and we had matched and we had chatted and it seemed like it was going well. And we got on the date and the entire 3-hour communication that we had was everything about what she knew.
the book she's read, the topic she's an expert in, her job, all of these things out externally that she was aware of and she wanted to share with me. Totally get that. But I didn't learn anything about her. She didn't seem to mind that she wasn't giving any personal information, and she didn't ask me any questions about who I am. And it's our first date. She was incredibly smart. She read 3 books a week. Like I knew all these details about her life, but I don't know anything about her. And it's like, so yeah, is it emotional intelligence where it's like I want somebody who's aware of that rather than me having to go, hey, so why did you come on this date with me? Like, do I have to reel it back in? Do I have to control the conversation? Like I said, like I don't want to play ping pong with somebody who doesn't know how to play on the other end. I want to play with somebody who matches you. Okay. Right? So it's like I want to, so I'm aware of those things, and so I want my partner to be aware. And so those are the things I look at. Like I pay attention to what they talk about, how they carry themselves, where their eye contact goes, and then what questions they ask. I didn't, on that date, the 3-hour date, I didn't get asked what I did until 15 minutes before I left. And I was like, it's midnight. I'm going home. Like, it's too late. Like, you missed your opportunity 3 hours ago.
Oh, God.
So I don't know.
I have one more question. Does it matter to you what a woman does for a living? Do you want someone who's pretty driven like yourself?
No.
Okay.
No, I think the most important thing is that she's doing something that fulfills her and makes her happy, to be honest.
Okay. Some kind of purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just, I guess purpose, for lack of a better term, but just, she needs to enjoy it, and she needs to have chosen it for herself, which is really important to me. But no, what she does doesn't matter as long as she's happy with it, to be honest.
Okay. That's great. I think that's a misconception that a lot of high-performing women have. I like to remind them, I'm like, men don't see it the same way that we do, because we do look at those things sometimes, like what does he do for work? Is he a purpose-driven man? And for us modern women, I'm like, that's more for you and your peers. You don't lead with that. Like, you lead with your heart first. Like, that's not why most men will choose their partners. Like, oh my gosh, she's the CEO of this company. Yeah. Like, they don't talk like that. We might talk like that sometimes, but they don't. Men look for different things, especially the like entrepreneurial, high-performing men. They look for something different.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I didn't realize that's more of a thing for like that women actually look for and
boss babe.
Consider.
It is.
So my job title on the dating apps really matters.
It doesn't matter, but it's something that we look at. Like, oh, what does he do for work? Where men, it's not the first thing they look at. Like, oh, what does she do for work? You're looking more at beauty, her heart, things like that. Where it is talked about. With girlfriends, we do look at those things.
I do feel that pressure sometimes, like when you're, like trying to convey that you are financially secure on a dating app, that you know where you're going in life, you know who you are, Direction. And you know what you want in a few photos and a few prompts. And I do feel that pressure sometimes, like, well, is this photo like really showing that I have like financial literacy, and is this really going to make her feel like she could trust in me, like I could protect her? Am I showing enough muscle here? Like those thoughts sometimes go into my head, but it's like, but then that's pulling me out of that character again, and like not being true to me. Like, I just got to remember, just be true to you and just show who you are the best way you know how.
Yeah.
And trusting that the right person is going to find it. But yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about all this. It's so much fun. I definitely want you to come back. I think maybe when you meet a person, when you're in a serious relationship again, I would love to follow up and see how things are going.
I'm game. Let's do it.
And I'm pretty sure that you might get some DMs after this podcast airs.
Please. I'm looking for somebody who knows what they want.
Awesome. Okay, so if people would like to reach out to you, where's the best place to do that?
The best place to find me is probably on Instagram at The Fit Model.
Awesome. Well, I wish we had more time, but thank you so much for coming on and being so vulnerable and sharing your heart.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.